Welcome to Season 2 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of self-discovery, healing, and bringing out the best version of ourselves and learning the art of being unapologetic, secure in who we are, and loving ourselves first before we love others, knowing when to choose ourselves and letting go of what doesn't serve us. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child, and in everything else in between. I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth.
In this episode, Dear You, we set boundaries. Boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows me where I end and someone else begins, leading me to a sense of ownership, knowing what I am to own and take responsibility for. It gives me freedom. Henry Cloud. For the very first time, I'll be talking about something I'm still trying to get the hang of. Maybe by the time I go through this episode, I'll have a light bulb moment. This is still a work in progress. Let's start the healing and unlearning together. Let's set boundaries. Setting boundaries, what does that even mean? I also didn't know what it meant, but what does it mean? I personally have been struggling with setting boundaries because I dread conflict. I also let my guilt have the best of me. It would surely eat me alive. I'll give my very last breath to make sure someone else is at a better place than me. I sacrifice my sanity. Before we get in deep, let me share a story on how badly I do when it comes to boundaries. I firstly didn't know what healthy boundaries are, how to set them. So let's go back to the days before now. Years ago, I let the world consume me, and I suffered from the God complex, wanting to save the world around me and neglecting my own dreams. The fear of saying no cripples me, especially when I know I'm at a place where I can help. I just had no idea of where I draw the line, and I still struggle with the process of healthy boundaries. I tend to give so much of myself with people around me. I go the extra mile, even if it lands me in hot water, only to realize later it left me wounded. I struggle with teaching someone how I want to be loved, how I would like to be treated. Even during my weekdays, I fail to be vulnerable. I would rather burn out listening to other people's problems than deal with my own. How can I say no? How do people say no? I still struggle with that thought. Selfish? How can I be selfish? It's just not in me. This is me trying to convince myself of my actions. Until I heard about healthy boundaries, and today I try to set them as best as I can. Here are 5 points I had to be aware of first. First one, I have the right not to respond or answer my phone. I know this sounds simple, but for an empath like me, it's not as simple as it seems like. I would have so much guilt looking at my phone ring, even if I'm in a place I'm not truly able to engage. Even if I'm emotionally burnt out, I'll pick up the call. A voice in me says, what if they need your help? But again, I remind myself they would have to wait until I have the space and energy to engage. Second, I have the right to tell someone how I'd like to be treated. When I first heard that from my psychologist, I almost jumped out of my skin. Say what? This was all foreign to me. How? Where? Where will I start? I asked her. She just said simple. Just tell the person I would like to be treated this way. And if you cannot respect that, then this is where I draw the line. Just like that, I asked her. She smiled and said, as easy as that. I looked at her and thought, lady, you crazy. Until I started putting it into practice, I felt lighter. It even gave me courage to clean up all the cluster around me. I had blocked and managed my life better. Third, I have the right to say no, even if the next person would be disappointed. I have to learn to say no, to protect myself from narcissists, people who do not understand boundaries, abusers of kindness, milkers, bloodthirst people, energy vampires. Learn to call them out when it becomes a bit too much. Do not give from an empty cup, they say. It's as simple as that. Fourth, I have the right to choose to disengage, block, people that no longer serve a purpose in my life. It's okay to say goodbye to old friendships. It's okay to let go of old memories that tie you to these people you call friends. The very people that might take and give nothing. Family members that are verbally abusive, family members that speak behind your back. No matter the relation, you can proudly disengage. Fifth, you cannot water someone else's grass while yours is withered and dying. This is the right of knowing where it ends, where you draw the line in any situation, at home, at work, friends, colleagues, family. These situations have a psychological impact in our lives. Acknowledgement is the very first step towards healing. With all that said, I still didn't get where I could begin and where it ends. It took a lot of healthy boundary classes, therapy, and I'm still learning. I want everyone listening to this episode to get to that point of knowing whether they are applying healthy boundaries in their lives. Are you that person who gives and gives and gives? Do you feel like all your relationships are one-sided? You always present, you always there. Always, without you picking up the phone, without you making yourself available. It's just always you putting in the effort. Are you constantly burnt out while trying to help others? Are you always the shoulder to cry on? Are you always the ear? Are you always the voice of reason? Are you always wanting to help and help and help? And you constantly drained and burnt out? I know this might sound like a TV ad, but such issues are real. Not setting healthy boundaries will leave you hurt, depressed, and drained. Setting boundaries is the first step to learning your value and never compromising it. Your worth. You need to know what you are worth. Start knowing which boundaries need to be created. And once you've set those boundaries, then you think, once I've set them, how would that make me feel? Let me share a simple exercise that I did. I set my phone to go on Do Not Disturb by 9 p.m. until the next day, 9 a.m. Because people would call me late at night with their problems. People would call me however they feel like calling me, whenever they feel like calling me. And that hindered my sleeping patterns, leaving me drained the next day. So I chose who can contact me after 9 p.m. And only those people know how to. If not, I'll get missed calls and will attend to them after 9 a.m. the next day. They can wait, right? That's a right. I've got the right to make them wait. This is the only one of the boundaries I set. One of many, I guess, if I should put it that way. It made me feel like at night, I don't have to try save the world or my friends or my family. It can wait until I get proper sleep, time to reflect and meditate and reboot my system. To gather myself, to gather my thoughts, before I give myself to recharge, before I get drained. There are so many other boundaries that I set to make sure that I go through each day as sane as possible. I urge you, if you're having issues with boundaries, the first step is acknowledging it. And then when you're ready, you can begin your journey on teaching people how you'd like to be treated. As my psychologist would say, if you do not teach them, they will cross all the lines and they will take and take until you have nothing left and just filled with resentment. You'll be left with so much resentment and no love because people have taken advantage of you. So just before you burn yourself out, start putting in the work. It is all worth it in the long run. It is a process. You will not learn and heal overnight, but be patient with yourself. It takes crawling before standing and standing before running. Learn to set healthy boundaries with people around you. Create space for yourself all the time and the world will follow. Boundaries are a part of self-care. They are healthy, normal, and necessary. Doreen Virtue. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Until the next episode, remember, everything in life comes with divine order, divine timing, and divine presence. Always surrounded by divine spirit. Dear you, you're going to be just fine. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul-searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.